And welcome back to the George R. Brown Convention Center in Houston, Texas for the 87th Annual Texas High School Coaches Association Convention. I am now joined by the one, the only, David Malesky of the O'Connor Panthers. Coach, I know you're on the board of directors, and you were just talking about just meeting after meeting after meeting. We really appreciate you taking some time to come sit down with us and talk about your program.
You bet. Thank you for having us.
This wouldn't be complete without having you and as a representative of the Panthers. And, you know, just year after year, it's just become an expectation in the San Antonio area for the O'Connor Panthers to be good. How much work does that take, Coach?
Well, the first thing it takes, having some really good players, and we've been fortunate that we had over the years a lot of guys that are really good high school football players. And the other thing we're fortunate, too, is that we've had some consistency in our staff and over the years that has helped. But ultimately, the community of Helotes is incredible, and yeah, there's an expectation that they have. But, I mean, we all have expectations. We all want to be successful, and we all want to win. And so it's not any one magic thing. It's just a mixture of ingredients that have helped us to have some success.
One of the things that I've enjoyed over the years doing this is that you have a wide breadth of talent over there. I mean, obviously, Roel Sanchez a couple of years ago, and you always seem to have great skill players, but an offensive line that is what's in the water in Helotes that makes them grow to 280, 290 as 16 and 17-year-old kids.
I don't know. It's one of the things that there's no question that we're fortunate that we have some kids that grow into those sizes and
can play. They
yes.
Great footwork and hands and
really some kids that we've had the last couple of years. Brandon Brown was a young man that started for us for 4 years in the offensive line. And that's in 6A football, that's unheard of.
Absolutely.
And so, you can't sit there and necessarily say that that's the norm. That's really the exception. And then we have another young man that he will be a 4-year starter as well, and that's Logan Parr, who's committed to Texas. But after that, you start looking at our guys, and yeah, we've got some big kids, but we also have some kids that are going to end up playing this year that are short. I'm looking at eye to eye to our center, who actually started last year for 11 games for us at center, and he's 5'8.5", 5'9". So, yeah, we got the elite player, and then we also have a few kids that aren't that.
Well, talk about that district, because you've had tremendous success year in, year out in a district that is as good as any district in the city.
Right.
Talk about how Brennan's constantly nipping at you, the rivalry and good play of Brandeis, and great coaches have come into Taft, and Taft's back on the rise again. It's a tough district.
It is. I say it every year that there's a tendency, I think, for people to overlook District 28, 6A over the years. But there's some teams, and we've been fortunate to be one of them, that have had, more state recognition type success than others. But every week we have a district football game, I'm a nervous wreck. And it doesn't matter who we're playing. I mean, every team, I think, is extremely well coached, and the kids in our district play really, really hard. And what does that lead to? That leads to you better be ready on Friday night, regardless of who you're playing, or otherwise you're going to find yourself in an uphill battle.
And it doesn't make you back off at all in your non-district, but what do you have, one non-district game?
One non-district, yes.
And it's going to be the Steel Knights.
Yes.
So your competition level across the board for 10 weeks is second to none.
Yes. And, our philosophy has been, even back when we were in zone play, and we had 4 non-district games against opponents outside of the Northside District, is we want to play the top teams in the state and the surrounding area, because we feel like, one, it forces our kids to raise their level of play, it gives us an opportunity to see what those elite schools are like and what it takes to compete, what it takes to win against those guys. But it's also in a situation that is going to have no bearing on postseason play, except that it's going to give us experience. And so, over the years when we get to playoff games, I find myself going back to something that happened during non-district and say, hey, guys, y'all remember this, you remember that. But now it comes into play, and it's for real, and we're playing for keeps at this point. So hopefully we're able to use those opportunities and those experiences to help us, one, get into the playoffs, and then two, once we get there, how can we continue to advance?
Especially with a team like the Steel Knights, and let's face it, there's some great athletes over there. They're fast, they're big, and one thing you can't simulate in practice is speed.
Right.
And so you got to go out and play it, and that's got to help your guys later in the season to play fast and see other teams play fast.
It does, and this doesn't get a whole lot of mention, but the week before that is the week that we have our scrimmage. Well, we have the last 8 out of 10 years, 12, I don't know, it's been quite a few years, we scrimmage Smithson Valley. Well, who are they? They're one of the, without a doubt, top teams in the state and definitely in the area. And so that's an opportunity. So you go through a couple weeks of two-a-days against yourself, spring training against yourself, and then we get to go over to Smithson Valley, and we always travel to their stadium. It's a lot easier for us. And scrimmage against those guys. And we find out real quick where we are. And about the time that our kids are feeling good about themselves, which is great. You want your kids to be confident. You go over there and you get hit right in the mouth from Smithson Valley and go through a scrimmage, and it's always been a great deal, and it's a great evaluator for us. And then we come back, and one of the things that we do after that scrimmage as a staff and as a team is our individual coaches will talk about their positions. Okay, here's where we are. We're good here. We're not good here. We need to get better here. And we tell our kids in front of the whole team where we are. And so those kids hear our evaluation of everybody. And we hear the good things and the bad things. And so now that kind of helps us refocus. All right, where are we? And then that next week we go out and play a real game that has no meaning in postseason. But yet it's going to give us a lot of experience. And so we feel like those 2 weeks against, one, who they are and how we do things really helps us, one, get to the playoffs and hopefully continue to advance in the playoffs.
Well, talk about some of the names that we're going to hear on both sides of the ball that you're really excited about. I know you're excited about all the kids, but there's going to be – you talked about Parr already. He's
right.
That's a 4-star, if you believe in the stars, but when he's already committed to the University of Texas, he can play.
We've known that for a while, and we're thankful that we had him. The other young man that has been on our varsity since he was a freshman, he didn't start as many games, but Bryson Greer, he's our nose guard. And Bryson this spring really blew up for him. He's every service academy has offered him, and
nice. He's
had several of the minor D1 guys have offered him. And he is an extremely talented player. I mean, he started off, 14 and 11, so 25 games the last 2 years for us. And, he started 14 games as a sophomore the year we got beat in the quarters. And what's great about Bryson is if you were to have a son, you'd want him to be like that. Nice. Bryson is such an incredible kid. Young man. Obviously, he's got academics to get to the service academies. Otherwise, they wouldn't be recruiting him.
Yeah, they wouldn't be offering.
And so that guy is in the middle of our defense. And so we're going to lean heavily on him. And then we got 4 of our 5 secondary kids back from last year that started for us. And in the really a cornerback, C.J. Waller is a potential Division I guy. You look at him, and he had a really nice year in his first year of ever playing in the secondary. So hopefully that experience is going to really pay off for him. And then we had another young man, Jack Jennings. He's our nickel back, but he had a really, really good year. And you look at him, and he's a little bitty guy. You think, well, that's nice. They're going to, let the JV player. But this kid, he's extremely physical. He can run and really smart. And For example, Trinity University, he's already had several visits there. Well, he's got the academics to get into Trinity. And so those are guys that, stand out there defensively where you look at us, and we're going to have some new guys also that kind of either played on the JV last year or were backups. And when we finished spring football, we were really excited about the potential that we have defensively. And then offensively, we lost one receiver from last year's offense, and that was Chase Locke. That he's a preferred walk-on now at Southern Cal. But we got Sam Castillo, he started 25 games for us. He's also our starting shortstop in our baseball team. That he's not very big, but he's a guy that has made a lot of plays over the years. And
athletic.
Yes, and he's had a great summer leadership-wise in doing the things in 7-on-7. 7-on-7 was really big for us, and we did really well with our group this year and went to the state tournament. And then our quarterback, left-handed David Dodd, that, he kind of was the number 3 guy after spring football a year ago and ends up starting and wins 10 games.
Hard work.
Yeah, and he's had a great off-season, summer, the whole 9 yards. And we've got a really deep, we feel like, receiving crew. We've got, 3 or 4 kids that are over 6'3", and then we got a couple kids that are under
coach size,
5.
can you?
No, you can't. and we don't know what's going to happen with that. We're just excited. We still don't know how the parts are going to fit, but we got a lot of kids, skill-wise, that played a lot last year, and so we're going to lean on that. And as I was mentioning earlier, we have a center that started 11 games for us last year. That's him and Logan, and then we had a couple younger guys that were sophomores last year on the varsity that had really, really good off seasons, and we're really excited about.
Well, we are absolutely excited that our kickoff coverage in Texas high school football this year on KCWX TV2 will be the Steel Knights visiting the O'Connor Panthers on a Saturday night. First Saturday night, what is that, the 30th or 31st?
Something like that.
Something along those lines, but that's game 1 at on KCWX TV2. Okay. And you need to tune into that because I've seen this guy coach in this game, and he goes crazy. How many onside kicks a couple of years ago? 19?
I don't know. Maybe it was 17, something like that.
But it was one of the most incredible games I've ever seen. These two teams are going to get after it on KCWX TV2 first Saturday of the season, right. And we're looking forward to that. David, thank you very much. I know you're busy, and we appreciate you stopping by.
You bet.
We'll be back with more from the Texas High School Coaches Association Convention in just a few minutes. I'm Jay Riley, David Malesky, head coach of the O'Connor Panthers. You're watching at TexasSportsProductions.com.